Miguel's so happy you could join us on Let the Quran Speak. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell me about how Islam came into your consciousness, your mind.
It's really interesting because I took an Intro to Christianity course, and it was through this course that raised some questions in my beliefs of Christianity. So I started to explore other options within the Abrahamic religions, such as Judaism and Islam. And then, lo and behold,
you took this course and you had some questions, and so you started exploring other religions immediately? Okay.
Yeah. So I looked I looked deep into Christianity, and then through Christianity, I looked into Judaism. And then through Judaism, I kind of was ultimately led to Islam. There was many questions I had, and then I started to realize those gaps in those questions I had were kind of being answered through Islam.
So tell me about some of those questions that you had that you felt that were answered by Islam.
Yeah, for sure. So like some of the things like in Christianity, the belief of like the Trinity and stuff like that, looking through in historical Christian context, it didn't come to be what I actually expected it to be. And then looking through Islam, seeing how the Quran came to be, the revelations, and understanding like how significant this message was, it really stood out to me.
Tell me about your your background. You were a Christian, right? Catholic.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me about that, growing up as a Catholic.
So I grew up Catholic in a very typical Catholic Portuguese household. I went to church on Sundays. I had a very strong faith in God, even before I became Muslim. Read the Bible.
So that helps, if you have that strong faith, that background already, right?
Of course, yeah, because at the end of the day, my beliefs in God have almost maintained the same in terms of like the level of faith I have now that I'm Muslim. But it's been very interesting along the way, seeing how I've grown in these beliefs as well.
So what did you do when you started exploring Islam? What sort of, did you read books? Did you explore the Quran? Did you talk to people? How did you learn more about Islam?
So I started reading a lot of books. I remember buying books just on like understanding the basics of Islam to begin with. And then I would watch a whole bunch of like lectures and videos on YouTube, understanding things like the night journey that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, went on. Understanding how like the physics, it was something really crazy but really interesting to me. Speaking of like black holes in the Quran, specific things that just really stood out to me. I'm like, this is in like the year that was like around 600, and I'm just like, this is a lot more than just a regular book. And then I am like, before I even think about becoming Muslim, I'm gonna have to read the Quran. And I remember I opened it up, and then within a week just went right through it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
From cover to cover, from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when you read the Quran? What came out to you?
There was a really strong message about Allah forgiving everyone, and basically it's setting you up because that Allah wants you to succeed in the end. It was very interesting because as I'm going along the story or the book of the Quran, and I'm understanding more and more of it, I was actually very fortunate because I was being able to understand the historical context of where everything was coming from as well, which is very important, as well as seeing the translation. It was a very well done translation of it as well, and then being able to understand it gave me a very good perspective of what Islam was.
Did you go to a mosque at that time? So
I never actually walked into a mosque before in my life. The first time I ever walked in was the day I went to go take Shahada.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So, what about your interactions with other people? Did anybody talk to you about Islam?
It's very interesting because I wouldn't say anyone actually was just convinced me to go to Islam. I was brought to it. I think it was just Allah's plan to bring me. Because at the end of the day, my Christian beliefs were so strong that if someone was to be like, Islam's the way to go, I'd be like, definitely not. So how I came about it was actually through Christianity. So it was kind of studying that kind of brought me along the way. But there were small things like the process of me going to take Shahada, for example. I was very hesitant to go to a mosque. So it got to the point where I remember I'm like, yep, I have to go take Shahada at a mosque. I have to walk in. I did all the research about it, looked online. I even looked around for mosques in my area. And I'm like, okay, this mosque looks good. It looks nice on the inside. This is a perfect place to go. But then I wouldn't do it.
Taking the step is intimidating.
Yeah, to take that step is very intimidating.
Not just to take your Shahada, but to get into the mosque itself.
Of course, because I've never been there before. I'm not sure what to do. But then that's where things started to happen. People I haven't spoken with in like 3, 4, 5 years all of a sudden message me and they're like, oh, you're reading the Quran. If you have any questions, just let me know. And I'm like, actually, I do. I'm thinking about becoming Muslim. you want to help me out with this? And then they're like, yeah, let's go take Shahada kind of thing. And it was like that.
So at what point did you decide that Islam is right for you? Because, I mean, you took this Christianity course, Intro to Christianity, and then you felt a little bit disillusioned, then you were exploring all these other religions, you came to Islam, and then at what point did you feel, okay, this is the religion that I want to follow?
So I remember taking the course, the Intro to Christianity course, in about May of 2018. And then I remember about within 3-4 weeks, I dropped that course. And by June, I started reading a book on the basics of Islam. So around June 6th, I was like, I'm more likely going to become Muslim at this point.
That was really fast.
Yeah, it was really quick because I was like going through it and I'm like, I felt kind of like led to this religion for some reason, but it was really interesting how it all came to be. And I'm like, okay, around June 6th, I'm going to become Muslim. I kind of felt that deep down that was probably what's going to happen. But I'm like, before I do that, I have to read the Quran. I have to do at least a little bit more background research before I make this commitment 100%. And then I read the Quran, and then there was like a kind of like week period after everything that I was just like, yep, okay, this is it. So.
How did your parents respond to you becoming a Muslim?
It was really interesting because I took Shahada on August 2nd on a Thursday, and I was told to come back to the mosque on Monday because someone would be there to teach me how to pray and understand how to read like the alphabet and read the Quran and stuff like that. So the next week I come, but I don't own a car, so I was asking my parents to borrow their car. So on Monday I go to the mosque, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and this entire time I'm asking my parents for the car, and they're like, oh, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to the mosque. And they're like, haha, funny, right? And then by Friday comes around, they're like, so where are you actually going? Are you like hanging out with friends? And I'm like, no, I'm going to the mosque. And they're like, so why are you doing that? And they're like, I'm like, oh, because I'm Muslim. And they're like, huh. And then my dad's just like, well, that's stupid. And then my mom was just like, I think she pretended not to hear it. But then, like, it kind of worked out because at the end of the day, a couple days later, my dad's like, oh, do you want me to buy you halal chicken? So,
So you're very lucky in that sense that your parents, have been really welcoming and accepting.
Yeah, I've been very lucky, very blessed. It's been a very easy process. And yeah.
So how has it been learning about the different, practices of Islam and trying to incorporate them into your life?
It's been interesting. Things like wudu, for example, being able to practice wudu, learning the prayers, learning different surahs in the Quran. It's been a process.
Do you have a teacher, someone to teach you?
I've been involved with the community, so I'm picking up things every now and then. Some reading on my own, some people teaching me by myself. Eating with your right hand. I'm left-handed, so it's been it's been interesting along the way. Stuff like that, yeah.
And praying, learning how to pray. Did someone help you to do that?
Yeah, actually, the same person that reached out to me, who helped me, who brought me to the mosque to take Shahada, he's the one that actually initially taught me how to pray.
How difficult has it been changing your lifestyle?
It's been interesting because I wasn't really living a very different lifestyle. I was very traditional in my Christian beliefs, so going from that kind of traditional perspective in Christianity to Islam hasn't been that difficult of a change. I go from not really drinking to not drinking at all. I go to, instead of eating chicken, to eating halal chicken. Small things like that. It's been a very easy process.
How do you think Islam has changed your life? How do you think it's made you a better person, perhaps?
I think it's definitely I wouldn't say like, I haven't made a huge change, but I've definitely noticed an improvement. I noticed I have more of a routine. I'm more organized. I'm more grateful for a lot of things. And I kind of enjoy the simple things. I know that kind of sounds cliche, but it's kind of like I've taken a step back and been like, wow, I really appreciate a lot more things in life now. So.
What advice would you have for somebody who's considering Islam like you and, considering going on that journey? What sort of advice would you give them? I
think the first thing is to have an open heart and an open mind. I think when looking into Islam, sometimes it can be very intimidating, but definitely go into it with an open heart and an open mind. I mean,
of course, there's so much Islamophobia and so much ignorance about Islam, so it can be hard for someone to think about becoming a Muslim.
Of course. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I was, at least from my perspective, I was able to distinguish that all the Muslims I met in my life have been good people. And I think that's an important thing for all Muslims, that they're examples for non-Muslims. And going into it, it's definitely something that I noticed. And especially with like media and stuff like that, they can put their own agenda on the table. But I think it's for everyone to educate themselves on what Islam's really about.
Miguel, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best as you move closer to God.
I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.